Hello, I'm Corey Gilmore, and this is Adaptive Technology Today, Episode 2. And today we're going to talk about Google, because we spent time last week talking about Apple, and I don't want the email that says, you don't talk about Google. So, here, we're talking about Google. Everyone happy now? No, seriously. Google and Apple are two of the most important companies right now. Google has a lot going on for people with disabilities. One of the things they have going on is, I might as well just dive in and talk about Chrome. The Chrome web browser has extensions, so it's not just a web browser. You can make it do all kinds of things. In fact, there is a Chrome operating system, which is basically just a web browser and email client. And if you think about what you do on a computer, it's possible that that's all you need for a computer, right? Is a web browser and an email client. And so Chrome is something to consider if all you want to do is go on Facebook and keep up with your kids or whatever, and you don't want to deal with viruses on the computer, look at Chrome. But from a disability standpoint, Chrome has extensions, and that means that you can make it do you can make the web browser do certain things that it couldn't do before. And I don't have a web connection here, but I'll just show you very quickly. If I pull up Chrome on the Windows machine, I don't know if you can hear that, but it will talk to me and tell me what's going on. So it's a very nice thing. So I can read various web articles and things just by selecting the article I want to read, and it reads it automatically. Now the interesting thing is that Apple just announced extensions for its web browser, so we'll see. But Google has a lot more going on than the web browser. We might as well talk about Android, right? Scary subject is Android. Because a lot of people assume that because I have iOS devices and a Mac, that I'm against Android. So let me just say publicly, I don't hate Android. But there is something I hate. There is something I'm against. And that is, stop forking my forking Android, okay? Android is a beautiful thing. Google makes Nexus tablets that they support, and Android has pins to zoom, and they've got assistive text, and they've got a system that talks to people who can't see. It's awesome. But the one problem is that if you buy an Android device from, say, Samsung or Acer or some other manufacturer, they have their own version of Android that they put on it. And that is not the way Google envisions Android to be. So what happens is that if, say, there's an update to Android, and you want to update, you literally have to go on the web and figure out how to do that, because the manufacturer of your device is most of the time not going to provide the update for you to take advantage of the new features, because the cell phone carriers in particular don't want to do that. And that's my problem with Android is they fork it so much, and each manufacturer does its own thing with it. So when it comes time to update, you can't update. And that's wrong, because Android's got a lot of good features in it, and Google keeps pushing the features. You know, I mean, Google Now. Let's talk about Google Now. What is Google Now? Well, Apple has Siri as a virtual assistant, and Google has Google Now. And one of the things about that is it isn't just a virtual assistant. Google Now, because Google can look and learn what you search for on the web and what's on your calendar. Like I usually have an appointment on Tuesday, so if I had a Google Now, if I had an Android device, the Google Now would eventually say, you usually have this appointment at this time on Tuesdays and you're late. You need to, if you're gonna get there on time, you might want to take this route instead of this route. That's very powerful. It creeps some people out because Google looks at what you're doing and says, you are here now. In order to get here, you have to take this route. So to really use the power of Google Now, you have to have an Android device that you can update. So the Nexus devices I recommend. The other devices I recommend are they're called the Google Play editions of like the HTC One. You can get them from the Google Play Store. And that means that the carrier hasn't put on all their crud. It's just the piece of hardware as with a stock version of Android on it, so that you can update it and get the new features. And this is important because next week Google is doing Google I/O, and you can bet they will announce that's like their big press conference every year, and you can bet they're gonna announce a new version of Android, and it's gonna have new features for people with disabilities, and one of those is gonna be new additions to Google Now, new things that it can do, new things that it can tell you. Like Google Now, like you can see it learning what time you wake up every day and automatically setting an alarm and saying, it's Monday, you go here on Monday, wake up now or you're going to be late, and if you're late, you need to take this road, and don't forget this document that you've been working on. That's very powerful, and I'm fully in support of that. The other thing that Google is doing, of course, Google is the company doing self-driving cars. Now, I grew up watching Knight Rider. Knight Rider, if you haven't seen it, is the show about a computerized talking car and its partner, because let's face it, it was the star of the show. Kit was its name, was the star of the show, and David Hasselhoff was kind of the pet human being. Anyway, these two would go around and they would fight crime, and the car could do all kinds of things. It could talk, it could drive itself, it was bulletproof, and did all kinds of things. But Google is working on self-driving cars, and they're going to be a while, And we're nowhere near a kit, nowhere near that. But the promise of that means right now, in order for me to get places, I need somebody to drive me, or I have to take public transportation or some other, like transportation for the elderly. I don't know what it's called in your area. In our area, it's called caravan. So, right now, those are my options. And I can't get anywhere if I don't have transportation. So the idea that Google is working on is you get in, you tell your phone where you want to go, and the car will just take you there. Now that freaks some people out because they say, how can you trust a computer? Well, I would turn that around and say, you're trusting all these people to do the right thing. There's a lot of people on the road who are, let's face it, you got kids, right? What are you doing when you're dealing with the kids? No, Bobby, don't touch that. Get that back. Stop it. And suddenly you missed the turnoff because you weren't paying attention. You know what? Leave the driving to the car. You can spend your time yelling at the kids. It'll be awesome. Trust me, this is not going to happen in a couple years. We have to wait. But it is going to happen. And that means that people like me have a lot more freedom. And a lot less stupidity on the road. Because believe me, I've seen people drive, and I'm wondering just exactly why it is I can't get my license now. And I'm not advocating getting my license. I'm just wondering, with the way that people drive, how come they let them drive and not me? I'm not saying it's safe for me to drive. It certainly isn't. But it is, this is the way things are right now. And a couple more things Google is doing. They are working on a product called Google Glass, right? And Google Glass is very controversial because people are using it. This is the wearable product that has the screen that shows information right on a little screen like here. And it's very controversial because people are being stupid and they're wearing it while they're driving. So they're checking their text messages while they're driving. So some states are banning this product. This is a stupid move. It's a stupid move because, number one, it's not actually a product yet. Google Glass is a test bed for various technologies. Okay, so we get self-driving cars, then I am in the car and the car is driving me somewhere, I can be using my Google Glass to review the documents we need to talk about before I go to my meeting. And for me, Google Glass has another practical application. And that is that there's a camera in there. Now, why do I care about that? Well, as I mentioned, I have a vision problem. And one of the things that you can do with Google Glass is just swipe your finger on the side of your temple and zoom in, right? So if you think about this technology not as it is now, but if you look at it as saying, we're going to put this in a pair of glasses, so you don't need a prescription, you can zoom to whatever level you need. When you're reading a book, you just Okay, can make the print whatever size I need. You know, and it could make it safe for people to drive. But we're banning it now before it's even out. And I have a big problem with that. So write your senators and tell them it's not a product. Stop. It's not even out yet. Just stop. When it comes out, then we can regulate it, but let it get out the door first. Because otherwise, all the senators that are doing this can come over and they can all take turns every day reading me my mail and all the magazines and books I want to read. Because I will give up my Kindle and say, nope, the senators can do it. See, this is a perspective that most people don't think of. That, oh, it causes distraction because people are on the phone and they're. I know about all that stuff. You can use technology to be as stupid as you want, and that's not right. And that's what we should be teaching people: is don't be dumb with your technology. But it's not the technology's fault, okay? And people like me need the stuff so we can lead better lives and be more social and not be stuck at home just playing video games. Okay. I'm sorry I get so passionate about this stuff, but it's something to think about. You know, you don't legislate something when it's not even announced as a product. Of course, Google has serious problems right now because they haven't gotten it down to a price that anyone can afford. Even to test this to see if it would work to solve my vision problem would cost me $1,500. And it could be terrible. How do I know? And then there's the problem of it doesn't really play nice with an iPhone. You have to have an Android phone. And someday, we're going to get to the point where we all play nice together. Because the truth is, we all use Bluetooth. We all, use Wi-Fi. These are open standards. And, if I want to have an iPhone and Google Glass, I should be able to do it. And maybe they will when it's released. Then we can legislate it, and we'll all be happy. Let's see. Other things to talk about. Chromecast, which is Google's streaming television app. They're going to update that. It's going to be called Android TV. I don't know much about it, but I'm going to tell you what we're going to do. Next week, I'm going to figure out some way to watch the keynote from Google I/O with you and give you my reactions as it's happening. I may have to do that with my phone. But we'll figure out a way to do it. Okay? So, remember, Android is not bad, it's just forking. Don't legislate Google Glass till it's out. And get self-driving cars. Google is doing these things. They're not a bad company. You can protect your privacy by not being dumb online. Remember, people use Facebook and Google Plus to see about hiring people. So maybe you don't want to put those pictures of you on the drunk binge, last night. Just a thought, save those for yourself. You know, technology is awesome, and so are we. So that's the show for this week. Next week we'll do reactions to Google I/O, and hopefully there'll be something awesome in Android. In the meantime, I want to thank everyone for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I also want to thank the Twit team for their inspiration and say good night, Leo Laporte, wherever you are.